After the Buddha attained enlightenment, he was giving a teaching to 5 ascetics who were with him in the jungle at this time. So this first discourse he has given is called the Turning of the Wheel of Dhamma. Dhamma can be translated as the doctrine that he has given, or the truth, or natural truth. This is what the Dhamma is. So he's been turning the wheel of Dhamma, which was the old Indian way of referring to giving a teaching, would be called like turning a wheel. So it was the first time he turned the wheel of the Dhamma. And in this very famous discourse, he was talking about the so-called 4 Noble Truths, which can be seen as the foundation of all the 84,000 teachings that he has given throughout this 45 years of teaching. So these 4 Noble Truths, they are 4 facts, much like gravity would be a fact, or the fact that the day has sunlight and night has none. These are facts. They're unshakable facts. So it doesn't matter what faith you have, what you believe in. If you let go of something, it will fall down. That's what gravity does. Yes? So the first noble truth, the first unshakable fact for all of us is that there is stress. The Buddha calls it dukkha. Dukkha Arya Satya. This is the first noble truth of suffering or stress. Dukkha can be translated as that which is hard to bear. It is hard to carry, hard to hold, unbearable, quite literally. So this first noble truth is something that becomes very obvious to all of us when we stop and watch ourselves. These very moments when we just don't do anything, we sit down and stop doing, then it becomes fairly obvious just how stressed we are, how much tension there is, and how difficult it is for us to just relax for 30 minutes or 20 minutes even. For some people in the beginning stages, like myself, when I just started with meditation, it was impossible to relax just even 5 minutes. And I was sitting down and trying to relax for 5 minutes. I couldn't get anywhere. There were a lot of thoughts. The body was hurting like hell. It was an unpleasant situation. Very unpleasant. And so, of course, as it is our nature as human beings, we try to make it pleasant. We try to make it nice. And so I tried also to make it nice by moving the body, by propping up my cushions, using more cushions, less cushions, putting cushions under my knees. Everywhere there was cushions everywhere. I tried to make it as comfortable as possible, like lying down and all that. And nothing really worked, because it's the body's nature to have pain, to experience pain. Is it possible to lock the fan a little bit? Otherwise it will make the... Thanks, very good. Will make the microphone buzz. So it's our nature, or it's the body's nature to... It doesn't matter in what kind of situation you put your body, it always gets unpleasant. It's true, right? That this is something that is not faith dependent. Like, let's say giants, for example, or Hindus, they don't feel that. When they don't move their body, then there is no pain for them because they're giants or Hindus. Or there is no pain for Christians or something like that. It's not like that. There's pain for all of us. Whether you're a Buddhist or a Muslim or Hindu, doesn't matter. You feel pain in the body. That's what we all share in common. It's a fact. And it's not enough, right? It's not only just the pain in the body, but we have also mental pain, which is far greater than physical pain. It is mental pain which makes us go to war with each other. It is mental pain which compares yourself to others. It is mental pain which is judging other people. It is mental pain that basically gives you a sense of not being at ease and rested all day long, all night long. So it's by far greater. It makes us construct weapons, bombs, guns. There's a need for police. We need to lock our doors, not because of the body. The body is very harmless there. It's just a little bit of flesh and bones and blood. They don't do any harm. But if you put a mind into this body, which is out of control, then the body will act accordingly. It's like when you put a virus into a computer, then it kind of messes up the computer. The computer in itself is just a piece of plastic, right? If you have a virus in it, then you get a problem. You get some troubles in the computer then. It's similarly with our mind. If the mind has a certain virus, then it starts acting based upon this virus. It starts computing reality based upon this virus, which is in the system. Similarly, so does our mind. If there is, for example, the virus of anger in our mind, then the whole world appears as a miserable place. Everyone's against me. I don't know what they want. Why is everyone so aggressive? This is anger or fear. The world appears to an angry person like an unpleasant place. Doesn't matter where they go. They are like a person without skin. Even if you touch them slightly, they hurt. Doesn't matter where you touch them. Hurts everywhere. Some people are very, very raw inside, very angry inside. So it's just sometimes enough to look at them the wrong way and already they're deeply shaken and experience a great amount of pain. So this is the mind, it's not the body. Now the mind and the body, they co-influence each other. They are interdependent. So for example, your hormones do have a very strong impact on your moods. So it's not just only the mood which is totally separate from hormones, but there is mood which is influenced by hormones and hormones which are influenced by mood. So it goes in a cycle. The body and the mind, they are very interdependent. They're very hard to separate and pull apart, much like milk and water. If you mix milk and water, it's very hard to tell them apart. You can't say, well, like this part here in the glass is milk and that is water. Would be easier with oil and water, right? After a while you can clearly separate them. With milk and water is a bit more difficult. Similarly, the body and the mind are very strongly interrelated together. So both of these phenomena are the nature of suffering. They are experienced as a source of suffering for everyone who pays attention, for everyone who looks. So the Buddha says about the first noble truth that this is something that should be comprehended. Suffering is something for us to comprehend, to understand, not to avoid. But our whole culture somehow we tend to avoid suffering. We have all kinds of mechanisms and things that help us to overcome suffering. Makes us very comfortable. For example, if you're bored, you can just look into your phone. You're not bored anymore. You don't have to look at the boredom. You look at your phone. And so the symptom is gone, right? So we're hardly ever bored anymore because we're constantly looking into our phones. Creates a whole nother set of problems, by the way. That for everyone who wants to experience peace of mind, it's almost impossible nowadays because our heads are so full of information, all coming from our devices. So full, It's really hard for the mind to ever find a resting point where it just stops. So we can take a break and breathe without any commentary. No one in the head saying, you're breathing. You could breathe a bit faster. Maybe you should breathe a bit deeper. Oh, the breath is stuck in your chest. Maybe you should change that. But you have quietude. No one harassing you. No voice in your head. Right? If someone goes to the psychotherapist and says, it's a bit embarrassing, but I have a voice in my head. We're all in that. We're all having a voice in our head, don't we? constantly commenting, comparing. And you don't really need it either. You don't need a voice that says, "Oh, the sky is very blue today." You wouldn't need that voice. You could also realize the blueness of the sky without the words, in silence. So anyways, this is suffering. There's a threefold suffering also. It's kind of a little bit giving a broader view on suffering. The Buddha describes the first one being the suffering of pain, so-called suffering of suffering. That's everything that we immediately would point our finger to and say, well, that is a problem. I don't like it. I want to get rid of it now. We all know these kind of experiences. You don't want to have it. It's there. You want to get rid of it, like that. This is the suffering of suffering. Everything unpleasant. The second type of suffering is so-called suffering of change. That would be pleasure. Because everything that's pleasurable doesn't stay pleasurable. It in fact turns into the next problem. Pay attention to your posture right now. For those of you who are comfortable, notice the comfort will turn into pain. For those of you who are painful, notice the pain will turn into comfort as soon as you change. And then you're comfortable until the comfort turns into the next problem. And so if you observe, if you pay attention, and you notice that everything in the world is like this, everything that we do is just another thing that we do. It's not leading to peace, it's not leading to satisfaction, it's just another doing. Everything you do in your life is just another doing. It's not going to an end. It's not going to make you perfectly satisfied once you have the house, once you have the family, once you have this, once you have that. It's not going to solve it. It's just another thing, another action. It's not leading to peace. It's leading to more doing. That's why I say doing leads to doing. It doesn't lead to happiness. Non-doing leads to rest. And rest, there's natural happiness in it. And it's unfortunately this aspect that we miss in our modern lifestyle. Non-doing, it's all about doing. It's kind of all we know is doing, isn't it? And so if we contemplate the suffering of change, then we quickly notice, wow, no matter how much I do, no matter how much I have, no matter what I become, it will not be enough. It will just be another thing, another decision, another doing, but not peace, not happiness. For most of us, the only happiness that we know is the ending of a problem that was there before. Like changing your physical posture feels nice because the pain comes to an end. Eating good food feels nice because the hunger comes to an end. Swiping your phone feels great because the boredom comes to an end. Getting something off your chest feels nice because the need comes to an end. But it never really leads to a permanent solution. The third kind of suffering is the one that is most difficult to understand or see. It's the so-called all-pervasive suffering, or the suffering of the aggregates. It is the fact that we attach to the body and mind as being myself, as being me. We think this is me, this body is me, is who I am. Or the mind in its place, we think that this is who I am. The story that keeps playing in your head, you think that's who I am. But it's just a story. Nothing more. Just a repetitive story. It could be anything. That story could be anything. For many of us, it's a very
tough story, actually, that we keep telling ourselves. Or I'm too judgmental, or I'm too, I'm too angry all the time, or I'm too this, I'm too that. This kind of story. So we believe that this is who we are. We believe we are thoughts, we are perceptions, we are the body. That is not entirely true. It is in fact not true at all. So these are the three types of sufferings. There are three types of stress and tension. The idea that there is a self, the attachment to what is changeable, and the fact that there is pain, first of all. Now the Buddha goes on with the second noble truth, the second fact, which is the so-called noble truth of the origination. There is a cause of suffering. There's a cause of dukkha, of stress. It just doesn't come out of nowhere. It has a very precise cause. And the cause of suffering is twofold. One, it's ignorance, and two, it is craving. The Buddha calls that the parents. So when the parents come together, they give birth to suffering. When ignorance attaches with craving, there is suffering, there is stress. Ignorance simply means that we are hardly ever aware of ourselves. Like we're hardly ever aware while we're watching a movie that we are the one that watches the movie. When are you aware that when you're watching a movie, have you noticed that you're completely absorbed in the movie without any knowledge that your body sits in your room eating chips or popcorn? For me, it's like this. There's an incredible suction in these movies. It just pulls you in. You're in the story. Otherwise, a movie would be pointless to watch. And so our mind gives us these movies too, and we're completely, hopelessly absorbed in that. So this is ignorance, not knowing what is happening as it is happening. Being blind to the happenings of the present. Craving then is the way we relate to the things that are happening. We're either chasing something or we are battling something. Notice our whole life is based upon these two kind of energies. One is chasing, one is fighting. So currently we might be here in this meditation room chasing enlightenment, chasing peace, chasing whatever it is that you're chasing. I'm here too. That's the chase. If you fill in your own blank, right, it's different for all of us. Why are you here? Because there's some chase. I want more knowledge. I want some information. I want this, I want that. This is chasing, it's craving. We're not present. We are longing for the future happening. Similarly, we might be busy pushing against ourselves. I have too many thoughts, I need to get rid of the thoughts, etc., etc. That is the cause of suffering. It's the cause of stress. It makes us sit down in lotus pose, looking like a Buddha, but internally we go through hell because we're doing nothing but bullying ourselves the entire session long. Looking at what we perceive, thoughts, feelings, emotions and whatnot, and criticizing it, trying to get rid of it, trying to push it out, push it away. We all notice that in meditation practice. Most people start off like that. I've been doing it for many, many years like this. To be precise, for about 14 years, I've been pushing and pulling around on myself until I realized, wow, that's definitely not the path. So trust me on this. It's very important to let go and relax and leave things alone. Just leave yourself alone. Leave yourself alone. You suffer because you don't. You're stressed because you cannot take your hands off of yourself. always there with a scalpel and, a measuring tool, always trying to fit in perfectly, always trying to be the best meditator you could possibly be, always trying to this and that, that is so much stress. You're giving yourself hell like this. So it's very important to put your tools down when you meditate. It's all about letting go of the will and letting go of the doer, these two. This is the stronghold of the ego, of the self. It's doing and willing, intention and action. So when you sit down, there is no place for intention and action. We have to let go of it. And if you let go of these two, then there is only one thing that is left. There is awareness. Sure, there is also what you are aware of, but there is no more relationship to what you're aware of in form of pushing or pulling. You're not busy anymore. So, surprise, you can relax. And isn't that what meditation is about? Sit down and relax. How many times have you heard, meditation, it's so relaxing. But most people hardly ever relax. Even those that speak, meditation is very relaxing. I said that many, many times, but I didn't relax when I meditated. I gave myself stress. But it's just very fashionable to say it, very relaxing. And I'm a meditation teacher, so I of course have to say that it's relaxing. If I say, no, I'm actually really stressed out about myself right now, then what do you guys feel, right? So, but finally, what I've been reading about, what I've been hearing from my own teachers many, many times, it sinks in, and it takes its time, and we have to allow it to sink in. It is indeed the not doing that makes you rest. It sounds so simple and clear, yet we are so addicted to doing. It's kind of the only thing we know. So we would approach not doing like this. Okay, all right, so how am I supposed to do this now? So Tobi said not to do anything. So okay, all right, so let me sit down cross-legged. Okay, first, well, okay, good, that's fine, I'm sitting well. Now next thing, so what's the agenda? All right, listening to sounds, right, okay. All right, so I'm supposed to listen to sound, but that's a doing, right, isn't it? But anyways, okay, so I'm just listening to the sounds. And so the mind wanders off, goes shopping. It was like, God damn it, I should listen to sounds. Why am I not listening to the sounds? Come back to the sounds. Focus. Come on, focus. Here we go. And it goes on like this. We're meditating like this for many, many sessions until we get it. Until we start to become aware, oh, I'm really not giving myself a break at all. And all of you have to go through this process too, until you realize just how refined the doing is, how it sneaks into everything, how the will sneaks into everything. You always want something. Even if you say, okay, I'm not doing anything right now, hopefully I will relax. So you're approaching it with will again, you're pushing for your fantasy outcome instead of letting go. So what's the third noble truth? The third noble truth is Nirodha Ariya Sacha, which means the noble truth of cessation, of the end of stress. No more stress, no more trouble. And what is it that lets stress come to an end? It's just a change of attitude. And the change of attitude is from doing to knowing. Just that. We're not here to do. If you're meditating, you're not here to do. You're here to know, to observe, to see clearly. Some people say, I did my 10-day Vipassana retreat. What does Vipassana mean? What's the translation of Vipassana? Anyone knows? Clear seeing, correct. Clear seeing. It's not a brand. Clear seeing is not a brand like Coke or Colgate. I did Vipassana. It's clear seeing. Seeing what? Clearly seeing the world. So what's the world? The world is nothing but the movement of the 6 senses. The world is sound and ear. The world is smell and the nose. The world is your eyes and colors and shapes. It's taste and your tongue. It is your body and feelings. And it is your mind and the intellectual games of your mind. This is the world. So we are here to clearly see, to step back and invest our energy in seeing, not in doing. As you're investing your energy into seeing, the knowing becomes empowered, becomes strong and able. The mind becomes pliable and calm because you're leaving it alone. With this calmness, with such an empowered mind, you can then break through and understand clearly that there is no such thing as a me that does that. There is no core to any experience, no essence, no self. So this process, step by step, is the 4th Noble Truth, which is called Magga, the path to the end of suffering. So you have the 1st Noble Truth of stress. 2nd Noble Truth, the Noble Truth of the origination of stress. The 3rd Noble Truth is the Noble Truth of the cessation, the end of stress. The 4th Noble Truth is the Noble Truth of the path leading to the cessation of stress. This is what Buddhism is all about. The Buddha himself said very clearly, both formally and now, I teach but suffering and the end of suffering. These two. So that's what he said. Both formally and now, I teach only these 2 things. Stress and the end of stress. It's not about going to temples. It's not about sitting in a fancy way. It is clearly about understanding contraction in your heart and letting it go, leaving it alone. As soon as we contract, there is suffering. So you expand. You give it space, knowing space. That in itself is the greatest kindness you can ever offer to yourself. Kindness is not a doing. It's not something that you can say it is a doing, but here in this context it is not a doing. The highest form of kindness means you leave yourself alone, you give yourself space. Practically, kindness is very well a doing, of course. We have to act. Kindness is an action also. But in the highest sense, kindness means that you're leaving everything alone. You're giving everything space. Your tears, the heat of your anger, your judgments, everything you experience when just being still in a room, you leave it alone. So it's for that reason that all the sages throughout all times put the path into very simple terms. Letting go. It's all about letting go. Ajahn Chah is a great Buddhist teacher in Thailand. He has said it numerous times. Let go. Whatever it is that you're holding on to, let it go. Those who let go a little have a little peace. Those who let go a lot have a lot of peace. Those who let go completely, they have complete peace. It's all about letting go. So we practice by sitting still. Just let go. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. As soon as something arises and you're approaching it with a specific attitude, oh, what's that? Oh, hey, get out of here. You're not letting go. Maybe you're sitting there, you have very unholy thoughts. Totally absurd stuff going through your head. Let it go. Leave it alone. Trust the process. Trust the knowing rather than the doing. This is what sattha, faith, is all about. Having faith. Faith in what? Faith in the Buddha, in the knowing. Faith in the Dhamma, faith in truth. And faith in the Sangha, faith in a community of people who embody those principles. These three. Having faith in the Buddha is a refuge. We're taking refuge. What I've been reciting in the beginning, Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchami, it means I go for refuge to the Buddha. I seek help within the knowing, that what it means translated. For me, the knowing is the place of peace, the place of protection, of refuge. Nothing can touch the knowing. Nothing collides with it. Nothing crashes into it. Nothing bothers it. This is a real refuge. Death cannot reach it, even. So we are attuning ourselves to this state by surrendering to it, letting go into it. Not just something to recite. It's something to truly surrender to. Not surrendering to a person. When you surrender to the Buddha, it doesn't mean you're surrendering to a person that lived 2,500 years ago, or to a Buddha Rup, to a statue. We're not surrendering to our statue, We're surrendering to the Buddha inside of our heart, at the core of our experiencing. We take all the energy away from the doing, bring it to the knowing. This is what Buddhaṃ Saranang Gacchami means. I take refuge in the Buddha. Stop doing, start knowing. Empower the knowing throughout your daily life. Stay present. Focus on your practice like this, without any stress. Just keep remembering. It's not stressing yourself out about being present or about not doing anything. Oh my God, now I have to not do anything. How am I going to do that? It's not possible, huh? You have to just remember that you're already here. So something that helps me personally is a very simple sentence. I'm already here. Gets me out of this chasing mode. If someone asks you, where are you going? You can answer in two ways. One, you can say, I'm already here. I've just arrived. Another way to answer would be, well, I'm going to get cremated. Or I'm going to get buried, whatever is your choice. I'm going to die. That's for sure. For all of us. That's where we're heading now. All of us in this room. We don't know who is first. I don't know. It's a very natural fact, and remembering that is very powerful. Only if we are able to embrace death and the knowledge that we will die, can we actually properly live our lives. That is kind of the entry door to live a good, fulfilled life, beyond any regrets and worries and doubts. Death is your friend. And for most of us, he appears a bit stinky, so it is difficult to give him a hug. But once you do, you realize, just that life and death are one and the same thing. So this is the entry gate into real practice. Remember, you will die soon. Very, very soon. Not much time left. So we should spend the rest of the time that we have relaxing. Having a good time. A wholesome time. Having a good time doesn't mean, passing out drunk in a bar. Doesn't mean having a good time. A good time means, in a wholesome way, having a good time. Something that is truly fulfilling your heart and other people's heart around you. Good. Are there any questions? No questions.
Actually, why did Buddha practicing so much about suffering and not about the negatives?
Yeah.
Why does he teach so much about the negatives?
The Buddha is not really teaching about anything that has to do with positive or negative.
Yeah.
He's teaching the way to go beyond that. And in order to go beyond that, we have to start where we are. Right? It's suffering, it's stressful, right? So, for example, that the mind is positive and negative making still is a sign that is still stressed, right? So we start in a very realistic and simple way where we are. The Buddha didn't give any high-minded talks about nirvana much. He didn't actually talk much about nirvana at all. He only pointed the way. And it is a fact that most people would only go that path when they are becoming acutely aware of how stressed they are. And for many people, it takes a retreat to become aware of how stressed they really are. It takes this kind of first or second day on a retreat when you're just quiet with yourself, and after the second day you just go like, oh my God, what's this mind doing all the time? It freaks them out a bit. So, and then there is a turning point as well. In many retreats, for the people, they feel that there's a turning point, a very serious seeking for the end of suffering that comes only if we truly understand the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why he really pointed to it all the time. He didn't point to it because he's kind of a negative guy, but he pointed to it because it moves you to get out. If you don't have the awareness of it, you feel like it's a fun park. You feel like, oh, I have choices, I can do this, I can do that. But all the choices go outward, they never turn inside. So our eyes only look this way. But if we become aware of suffering, then the eyes turn inside. And we become aware of our heart. We see our heart after a while. So this is why it's important.
Embrace yourself. Embrace the darkness.
Yes. Basically, embrace all aspects. And then realize that you are neither dark nor light. You're neither. Positivity feeds on negativity. Negativity feeds on positivity. That's why we need to let it go. Both. Yes?
I have a quick question about actual practice. The gentleman on Thursday, I can't remember his name.
Say again, please.
The gentleman that was here on Thursday, is it Andy?
Oh, I don't know.
No, the guy that was here.
Adam, the teacher. Yes, Adam. Yes.
He said, he took us back to the very basics of awareness, and he said,
Yes.
if you're not aware throughout the day,
Yes.
then you're almost wasting your time sitting on your mat for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Do you believe that? I mean, so if in practice, say you've had a day where you're not very aware, your mind is elsewhere,
Yes.
and then you get to the evening like, oh, well, maybe I should sit down. Is that really a waste of time? Because is that not still a chance to then become more into yourself and click your,
Yeah. Well, it's not a wasted time. Definitely not.
I don't remember, I don't recall Adam having said it's a wasted time, but if he has said so, then it's a bit of a generalization. It means basically, if you do not make an effort throughout the day, then it's like 24 hours versus 30 minutes, or 23 hours, 30 minutes versus 30 minutes of trying to kind of get it together a little bit. And then the whole rest, the majority of our time is spent in complete mindlessness, yes. So we are practicing mindfulness only very, very short, but most of the time we're cultivating distraction, right? So then progress will not really work out. It has to become something that we do 24/7. So the act of non-doing, of remembering, oh, I'm here, and then letting go into the knowing, empowering the knowing, has to become more and more frequent. And it will become that by itself if you intend it. Alright? So if your intent is very strong, your mindfulness will naturally click back into place again and again and again and find the knowing. The more you do so, the more you relax into the non-doing, the more pleasure there will be. After a while, no one has to ask you, like, are you doing your practice? How is it going? Of course you do, because it's just so joyful. It feels so good. For me, I don't have to fight in any way, but I did until quite recently fight a lot with myself to keep my mindfulness upright throughout the whole day. But there will be a point in your practice where it becomes very joyful, and then it's easy. Yeah.
Quantity over quality at the beginning, or not necessarily, you can have bad meditation, so to speak, but as long as you keep practicing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just keep going. Just keep going. Every session is good. It adds to the game. It creates more and more, like an uplifting energy. Particularly, I would recommend to do practice on the days when you're highly stressed. There's this Zen kind of quote or saying that I've read frequently is, how's it going? You should sit in meditation an hour each day. Unless you have absolutely no time, then you should sit for 2. Yeah. If we're totally stressed, then it's even more important to actually give it a counterweight, to give it a balance. Because otherwise we make ourselves sick. Pardon?
Hip hop guy in America, he says if you don't have 10 minutes to meditate, you need to meditate for an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. It's the same thing. Yeah. Very clever. He's very clever. So it's important to, bring in micro sessions every now and then. Look away from the screen if you're working with your computer and come back to your breath. Hear the sounds around and allow yourself to settle into the knowing for a little while until you start to enjoy it. Then come back to work and do that throughout the day. It is a process. It takes a lot of time. It's not like, if I work hard, then I'll be enlightened in a week. And if I do it all right, then I will be enlightened in a month or something. It's not working out like this. You need to give it a lot of time and drop all expectations of how it will unfold. Then usually it goes more smooth. It's less of a problem. Okay? All right then, guys. Thank you very much for coming. Have a great week.